This is absolutely required training for any player that works with me on their ball handling ability. If you want to be an effective player off the dribble, there's a lot of little elements you need to be looking at. This training I'm going to give you in this video is going to work on all those elements. And the reason we're going to do this is because having a good handle is going to allow you to create so many more opportunities for yourself on the court. Getting more shots off from three-point land, from mid-range, layups, assists, right? All that comes, it's like the glue that brings all your skills together and really allows you to show them off. So if you want to play next level basketball, you've got to make sure you've got that handle down. Be sure you stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to give you some links to some other YouTube videos. They're going to help take a lot of these concepts and put them to the next level. So here's some of the main things I would work on with a player starting out. And I'm gonna, I would always variate this depending on the player's level of ability. So typically I'll start a player off with just working on some more stationary type ball handling just to get the body warmed up and get their feel for the basketball, but mainly to develop the control side of the basketball. So we wanna keep the feet set so now we know we're moving the basketball where it needs to go by controlling it with our hands, not compensating and moving our feet to get the ball where we want it to go. So I'm really big on having the players keep their feet glued to the ground during these. So the first thing I would have them do usually is like a figure 8 between the legs. Okay, not like the tap dribble one like this. I don't do a whole lot of work on stuff like that just because I don't feel like it's super applicable to game situations. It can help a little bit, but we won't spend hours on that ever. So just going like this, trying to go all directly between the legs, between the legs, between the legs. One that's pretty difficult for some players to do because without moving their feet, they'll want to do something like this, right? Or this. Doing it with your feet set's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for some players. Okay, so get that butt low, feet wide, pushing it between the legs with a little bit of snap at the end. If you can get your head up, get your head up. If you have to look down, that's okay. I'm okay with players looking down when we're getting started and they're newer to this, so they can get the feel for it, the understanding of where their hands need to be. If they mess up, they can see what's happening. Then from there, it depends on where the player's at. If they've got this down pretty good, we might advance to something more difficult, or if there's like a certain move that's giving them a hard time. One of these 4 moves total that I consider to be like what you should make sure you're focusing on, we'll focus on that move if it's giving them a hard time. So an inside out would be the next one. If they don't got this down, we would spend some time working on it. If they're good on it, we probably won't. Inside out with the other hand. Okay? From there, the reverse between the legs. So basically between the legs from the back. So ball comes behind the leg and then you push it through. A lot of times players get kind of confused and end up going from the front. So we'll go like this. Again, keep the feet planted. Once you get good at it, push the speed a little bit. Pretty much all the same keys for the regular between the legs are going to apply. And then the 4th big one I like to have players work on is the behind the back. Just like this. Okay, I might have them add a regular dribble in at first if they're not comfortable with it, but I want to make sure they're getting a feel for the basketball, and especially on this one, sure at first go ahead and look at it, but don't do a drop dribble. I want them to put some force into the basketball so they can start to rely on their hands to feel the basketball versus looking down on it. Because if you drop it like this, now you're like forcing yourself to have to look at it. So those are the big things I would focus on. If you notice, I don't have any regular dribbles or crossovers, right? Because everything that I have players do in this warm-up really develops their control, and those basic things are going to seem a lot more simple. Next, I would have them do something that involves ground touches, which might sound kind of weird. I'll get into what it is in a second, but the reason we would want to do a ground touch is it's good for keeping you low. If you're touching the ground, you have to get low with your hips. I don't mind players dribbling up to about shoulder height because there's certain scenarios where it gives you an advantage. But 9 times out of 10, when you're around your defender, you want to get these hips down. So ground touches force you to do that. The other thing it's going to do is get the hips open and loose earlier in our workout. Having those hips open allows us to get in good positions where we can sell fakes, be more explosive off the dribble, all those things you need to be effective. So an example of something would be just dribbling, touching the ground here, touching here, side to side. That's something a little more simple. We can do it with the other leg, or other hand dribbling, just touching, 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 just to get the hips open. If you'll notice, my legs are swaying side to side, my hips are moving, right? Keeping my butt down. All those things are good habits we want to get into. You could also do something that I really like to have players do in my warm-ups, which is the killer crossover drill. Crossover, touch the ground with the opposite hand. So right hand in front of left foot, cross back over, left hand in front of right foot. And I tell players when we start this, go ahead and carry the basketball. Crossover, carry, touch. Crossover, carry, touch. Crossover, carry, touch. And then as you get better, you can do it a little quicker and gradually eliminate that carry and then start pushing the speed. One thing I'll have players do too is get their feet twice shoulder width apart, so it's really working on opening those hip joints up, getting them mobile, getting them loose, and getting them in the habit of getting really lower and wider than they'll probably need to be in most game situations. So if there comes a scenario where they need to sell that big fake, they're ready, and anything less wide than that is gonna feel easy. Next, I'm gonna get some sort of a balance component in. This could be a variety of different things, but really at the end of the day, you wanna keep in mind being on one foot. It could be, you know, passing the basketball off the wall while you're on one foot, passing to a teammate, doing dribbles on one foot. At the end of the video though, I'm gonna link you to some more advanced things that are gonna really help you develop your balance and explosiveness. But this is really overlooked and really important because if you think about it in basketball, so much of these direction changes are made when you're on one foot. Your ability to stop on a dime really relies on one foot. Jumping for your layups, you're on one foot. So if you don't have good balance, you're not gonna be as powerful, explosive, and quick. Jumping, running, your first step won't be as explosive. You won't be able to stop on a dime as good, change directions as good. You won't be able to sell your fakes as good, any of that stuff. So the balance part is big and most players aren't training it, so stay tuned to the end of the video for that video. That's gonna really help you expand on that side of things. Next, I wanna get some sort of a reactional component in, basically something where they have to react to external stimulus. It could be me calling out a move. It could be a tennis ball is one of my big ones. Possibly some two ball work of some sort, but typically tennis ball is the main go-to thing I'll do. And it could be as simple as just throwing the tennis ball out, crossing over, catch. Throwing it out, crossover, catch, just to get the mind thinking quick, sharp, and reacting to what's happening on the court and getting the dribbling side of things to start feeling more natural so the player can focus on what's going on somewhere else with the tennis ball while dribbling and not really thinking about it. But the big key is on this, and I always tell players this, treat the basketball like it's gold. It's your #1 priority. So if the tennis ball goes flying, you don't leave the basketball and go get the tennis ball. That completely defeats the purpose of what we're trying to develop. We're trying to develop your ability to dribble the basketball naturally without thinking about it. And that's also something you would never do in a game, right? If you see an opportunity to get to the basket, you're not just gonna run without the basketball. So you gotta make sure you're keeping the basketball with you. You could throw it from behind you to kind of make it more of a reactional element like this. So then you cross over, you don't know exactly where it's gonna end up. Stuff like that. You can also do, there's a full series of throwing the tennis ball in the air to yourself and off the wall and some different combinations like that. That'll really help you expand on that. I'll link you to that video at the end of the video too, just so this one's not too long. It'll show you specific drills you can do. But besides that, the other thing that I'll do to really help a player advance is I'll throw the tennis ball to them and in the air, I'll call what move they have to do. So I'll say between. So if I say between, they gotta go between the legs and catch it. If I say behind the back, catch it. If I say reverse between the legs, catch it. I might even throw some in and outs to throw them off, but usually I'll go between, behind, and reverse. Sometimes I'll even say crossover or inside out. Starting, I'll just say it right before I throw it, and then to really work on that reactional speed, I'll come a little closer and I'll say it when it's in air, so they really have to think sharp and quick. That's gonna get your mind thinking quick, so in games, now you can react more quickly, and in your practice, that intensity and focus will be there for the rest of the practice. So all the things we've done so far set the foundation for more of your actual practice type stuff. Okay, next I'd have the player do two different things to develop two different kinds of speed. First of all, just getting their body thinking quick, kind of like the tennis ball, but that's more about the mind. This is more about getting the body and the nervous system moving quick, thinking quick, and then we'll do something to actually work on like a change of speed, develop power in the dribble. So the first thing that we're gonna work on is the spider dribble or the behind the knee clap. I usually have players do one or two, sometimes both, if I wanna get that hand speed up and again, just get the body thinking quick. So the spider will be left, right, in front, left, right, and back. Left, right, in front, left, right, and back. Just like that. You could start higher, but as you get better, you wanna get quicker with it, try to push it lower. So the ball's barely bouncing off the ground. You could also go right, left, and I'll even have players switch it up after they get really comfortable and low with one of these versions to work on the other hand pattern, just to develop a little bit more of that coordination and get them thinking and moving quick. The behind the knee clap is basically putting your feet together nice and tight, basketball behind your knees, drop, clap, catch, drop, clap, catch. But the goal is to get up to catching it in the air. Okay? And that's gonna get you thinking quick, moving quick. You might not get a big clap in the front, but try to get your hands to touch and catch it behind you. Even if you can't get it, once you've been able to catch it off the bounce easy once or twice, force yourself to try to get it in the air, because the whole goal of this is to get your hands and body thinking quick. It's not so much about catching it. The goal is to try to catch it, but the main goal is to get you thinking quicker and your body moving quick. Then the next thing I would have players do to work on that dribble power and a change of speed, two big things. So actually dribbling quicker and having a change of speed. So if you're always moving a million miles an hour, your defender's gonna be ready for you. And a big problem I see with players is everything they do is full speed, and they need to get more of that slow to fast so they can catch their defenders off guard. This will help develop that. You can either go hard cross, hard, slow. Okay, so as you'll notice, I'm pounding that basketball on the ground, putting as much force as I can into it, trying to put a hole into the ground. The other one is super soft, super light. Hard, light, hard, light. Okay? Do that about 20, 30 times. I'll usually have a player do it that way. And then the other way. Boom, slow, boom, slow. And if you notice, I kind of bobbled it on that first dribble. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. I tell my players, you should be losing the basketball from time to time on this. That means you're pushing your speed on that fast dribble. Just make sure you're keeping that slow dribble slow, because a lot of times I'll see players do this. That's one speed. That's not what we're looking to try to do. Fast, slow. So fast it's almost uncomfortable, slow. Okay? Then from there, if you got that down, what I'll have players do is just switch it up. Instead of doing that, we'll go between the legs, hard, slow cross, between, hard, slow cross, and then the other way. Slow, slow, okay? So it just depends on what level the player's at, what level you're at, what you would want to do. From there, we would get in more to like the meat and potatoes of what we'd be doing for the workout, which would involve, you know, actual on-the-move type dribbling. And a lot of what I'll have players do is work on like moves and combos and things like that, just to give you an idea of some of the things that you want to keep in mind. So those warm-up ball control exercises, you're inside out, you're between the legs, you reverse between the legs, you're behind the back. That's a lot of the stuff I'll have players combo. You know, we might do some regular dribbles and regular crossovers in the mix too, just to switch things up. But those are your main things you want to keep in mind, and then also possibly your spin move, depending on how sharp you're looking on it. But an example would be just doing between the legs cross down the court, right? Just get the footwork into the mix. I would maybe have a player do that, or like a between the legs behind the back, and I would really focus on the details and say, okay, here's how you could tweak it to make it next level. If you're looking to try to do that, one of the best ways to do it is just to work out with me in person at my Superstar Handle sessions. Otherwise, check out some of my other YouTube videos. I go really in depth with those, and depending on when this video comes out, I'll have a series called Anatomy of a Move. That's gonna go really in depth on that. Maybe I'll have some out already by the time this video comes out, so you might wanna check those out. But the combos, basically just adding footwork, doing it down the court and back, you know, maybe working on doing it sideways, okay, just to work on different angles of movement with it, sideways this way, okay, doing it backwards. And then one of the big things I'll spend the bulk of a training session is once we've got to move down pretty sharp, we'll do it to the basket, right? So between the legs behind the back, and we'll get a layup off that, okay? We'll go into a jump shot with it, make it game specific, and then we'll branch off from it, maybe, you know, add one more piece to the end. So we'll go between the legs behind the back, inside out, branching off from that. Or maybe we'll add a piece to the beginning or switch something up. Instead of going between the legs behind the back, maybe we'll go between the legs crossover. And everything we do both ways. So we would go here, here, all the way to the hoop. We would go here, here, add that in and out, right? Switching it up, you know, and adding all the things that we did on the left side to the right side, just to work on branching off on what they're able to do. And then, you know, we could start with something else. Maybe in a couple weeks, once they got that down, we could start from a behind the back and go into something. So always switching things up, getting it down, walking first, and then doing it to the hoop. Those are some of the big things I have players focus on, possibly even weaving between some cones to work on some of that spatial awareness and reactions. And then there's two final things I'd have a player work on. We wouldn't necessarily do this every day. This is gonna be more taxing on your body, your nervous system, and it's focused on speed and power. So whenever you're working speed and power, you wanna make sure that you're having like an off day in between so your body has time to rest and recuperate so you can move at full speed and power when you're doing that training. Because if you're not, because you're tired, now you're training your body and teaching it that its full speed isn't really as fast as it could be because you're tired, and teaching your body like, this is as fast as I can move, right? You want to teach it to move fast. I'll do stuff with like heavy basketballs, band work, things like that. I won't go too in depth because it's kind of tough to show you in video and have a lot of you able to do it at home. Again, if you've ever trained with me in person, it's something we would definitely work on, but something to get some element of resistance, and we would do that earlier in the workout to really get the heart pumping. It's good both for conditioning and also on the power side of things to work on stuff with resistance though. But you could use resistance bands to add resistance to your different body parts, a heavy basketball, wrist weights, things like that are good. And again, you want to keep those sets short. So if I'm going to do like really hard pound dribbles back and forth with some resistance of some sort, I don't want to like go for like 10 minutes. I want to go for like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then take a break for a minute so my body's fresh again for the next set. Then besides that, the other big thing, again, that I would do about every other day because it's more speed focused would be like footwork drills. So things like hopping back and forth over a line. There's different 1-foot variations. There's a lot of things I do with players on this and a lot of things you should be focusing on because footwork gets really overlooked, but you want to work on that footwork speed, balance. Also, you want to be working on your explosiveness with your footwork, your ability to really push off and cover some ground, right? Because you need that in game situations, like on your crossover, to be able to cover ground is big. I'm going to link to you another video. So I'm going to link you to that video, the tennis ball drills video, and the balance video. Those are all going to help you a ton. This is the footwork video, the footwork drills, tennis ball drills to work on reactions, and this is going to be the balance video. Click that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon to catch the newest videos, and I'll see you in one of these videos.